Listen to me. Listen to me. Do you realize this was supposed to be the strongest year in gaming for the longest time since recent memory? Honestly, I can't think of a better year that, like, a stronger setup with noteworthy titles that no one is going to remember because they sucked. There's I want you to go into the comments right now. Make a list of the games that you remember that were major releases this year. And I can tell you, it's not going to have all of them. And you're going to be alarmed by how many big names had no impact. Like a midget jumping into a lake, like a. So what games you should not acknowledge because they're so recent? Arc Raiders, that came out like last month or this month. Silk Song came out last month, or no, two months ago. And even that one, who has been talking about Silk Song still? It had a massive, like, it shut Steam down. I don't think you understand how major of a release it was. Like, multiple stores went down. You couldn't buy this game for like 12 hours. But no one's talking about it. When was the last time you heard people talk about Ocarina of Time, a game that came out like 30 years ago now? Do you think anyone's going to be speaking highly about Silk Song a year from now or still talking about it? I don't think so, and that's the tragedy. Maybe the no, I don't even think the patches have been doing anything, to be honest. Gaming is about creating memories. This is the thing you hear everyone talk about. All these old people being like, "Oh man, I remember the old days of Call of Duty. We ran around, we drop shotted, we 360 no scoped. I was there to invent the 360 no scope." Okay, Grandpa, but Grandpa's right. Unfortunately, Grandpa's very right. I guess to get with the kids. Oh, do you remember Fortnite Season One? Oh. So here's some memorable releases that I took away from this year. We've got Clover Pit, the Bossman Jack Simulator. Very cool idea. The game was fun, but the difficulty and RNG of it is too obnoxious for it to be a reasonable game, which is sad. I wish they would rebalance some of the items in that game to make more build variety. Good. And an early access title, Sulfur. That one's been pretty engaging. It's sort of a extraction shooter type game loop where you get good gear, you can build it up, and then store it in a stash for emergencies. That one I am excited for. It's been pretty fun, but I don't think I like the lack of permanent progression type stuff. You can make more or bigger storage units, which is a very new concept for me as a not very frequent extraction shooter gamer. Dread Zone, this one is a boomer shooter, roguelike. Very fun game play. The build variety is kind of there, and the synergy between items seems pretty exciting. I don't think anyone really talked about that one though. It's got a DLC for another zone coming out, some more content, and I am sort of excited for that. Abiotic Factor, I've mentioned this one before. I think this is a Half-Life looking game. It's trying to get that old graphic style going. Travelcraft, unique. Yeah, it's kind of like The Forest, but you're in an underground laboratory the whole time, which is really cool. Instead of being out in the wild, which every survival craft game is kind of doing, or has been doing for a decade now. Grounded 2. That one has also released into early access. I am optimistic for this one. Granted, I've only played about 4 hours into it. So, if you are intrigued by the concept of being shrunken and playing as an ant-sized human, building bases and significant progression, like dungeons to explore, I'd recommend the first one. Well, you wait. Another one, Void Zone. It's very similar to Dread Zone, but this one appears to be built by a single developer. I would definitely wait for this one to cook, but I am intrigued by the amount of variety of content, or I guess weapon variety. Keep an eye out on that one. Elden Ring Night Rain surprisingly was fun. Now that's with a few asterisks. The When you're queuing with randoms, everyone's running the same loop, which I imagine is the meta. I got into the Night Rain like 2 or 3 months after release because I was bored and desperate for a game to play. So everyone's running the optimal paths. With the optimal paths comes very repetitive gameplay. Fortunately, the Dark Souls, Elden Ring, there's a lot of weapons in that game for Night Rain to build off from. So you'll never have the same weapon twice, or if you do, there's going to be different modifiers that you can get. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm biased because I like roguelikes. Repo, that one was a fun, memorable friend slap game where you're trying to get stuff out of. You're trying to help your friend move, essentially. Dispatch, this one I didn't play, but it's noteworthy because of how vocal. I've heard about it a lot. People have talked highly about it. I'm happy that there's another story game out there that has managed to get away from the Netflix meta. And what do I mean by that? No longer it had 2 episodes drop per week. So you can actually talk with people about the story as it goes. You can't do that with modern television anymore because everyone's dropping the entire series in one season in one batch. And that has honestly destroyed discussions about games or television in general. Very excited to see a new way of dropping episodes or content to keep a game in the newsfeed. 2 games that I think were memorable, but I don't know if anyone's really talking about them, would be Core Keeper and Assess. They're essentially clones of Terraria, but with different spins. One is about building a village with, yeah, we'll call them slaves. You get slaves that show up and you invite them to your village. They're called slaves because I make them do all the work, all the labor, all the sorting, and it's very convenient having. I'm very pro-slave in this game. Core Keeper, this one was... Core Keeper liked to copy the core combat functionality that Terraria built up, which is hiding enemies or bosses around or dodging in unique ways to stay in the optimal position as you pump out damage. That type of gameplay is pretty fun. I enjoy that. And the difficulty is well tuned, so you don't really, you feel incentivized to use the resources you get, such as potions, buffs, whatnot. Many games will give you potions and buffs, but you'll never feel like they're worth using or they're too expensive to use. So if you're a hoarder in like a JRPG, you'll never use a lot of the items they give you because you don't need to. Now, why do I say this was the worst year in gaming for a while? Let me give off the full list of big AAA titles or titles you would expect people to be talking about for this year when they talk about the year 2025. Kingdom Come 2, Silent Hill F, Hades 2, there was Doom, I don't even know if it was Eternal or what. Some Doom game came out, no one cared. I think it was to Xbox Game Pass, which I am a bit curious to see how Xbox Game Pass has affected talking about games, because you don't know who's playing what game, or no one's feeling like they need to buy the game anymore. So if you don't buy a game and have the option to replay it, can you really define yourself as a gamer, or are you just like looking for the next slop to feed on, like you're scrolling Netflix or something, dude? Like, what the hell? Anyways, Ghost of Yote. Ghost of Tsushima was a massive success, followed up by, well, I mean, let's be honest, everyone saw the problems from miles away with the character model choice. We'll leave it at that. Metal Gear Solid Delta. I'll be honest. I have no idea where the Metal Gear Solid fan base is, if they even exist anymore, or if they've moved on to Death Stranding 2, which that's another one. No one talked about that. Everyone talked about Death Stranding 1 because UPS simulator, yes, absurd, but was it unique? Yes, absolutely. So people think fondly of that one, but I think everyone that saw what the first one was like is going to understand that they don't want the second one. So I am a bit curious on how it did, but again, no one remembers it. Killing Floor 3. Now, this one was supposed to be another highly anticipated sequel that they released it and it went so poorly they decided that it was early access now instead of a full release. Or at least I believe that's what I remember hearing. Which, good on them for saying, okay, we're willing to listen to the community on this, on how to make the game better. They admit their fault. 1,000 times better than many other developers who just say, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Like Ghost of Yote. Borderlands 4. I don't think anyone's really talked about that one since it came out. And I think that one came out like last month as well. Jesus. That is brutal. At least people still vaguely remember Silk Song. Like, being like the Beast. I think that also came out a few months ago, like 2 or 3 months. But that one, they were banging on getting the fans of the first game back. Unfortunately, the level design and the parkour and the stupid RPG mechanics, the forced, you're underleveled, you can't kill this enemy type, has sort of ruined it for me. Anyways, I didn't bother getting it because I didn't like the second one with that same exact issue. AI Somnium had another sequel. This one I was excited for and really disappointed. I guess I didn't get the memo that it was an escape room game. Those games previously in the series were not necessarily escape rooms. They were, I guess, choice games. There's a lot of, best described as a point and click adventure, which it's not point and click, it's more navigating a 3D space. But I guess that's the best way to describe that. Assassin's Creed Shadows, that one, okay, maybe I might be wrong. This one might not deserve to be on this list. It's memorable for how controversial this one was. Similar to Ghost of Yote putting making a game about Japan about some random, like, a female samurai or a black samurai. Like, what? Why? Why two? Why was there 2 games to release in the same year doing this? Honestly. Here's a stealth release that came out of nowhere. Oblivion Remastered. No one talks about Oblivion anymore. I feel like they make remasters to kill an IP. Like, I feel like I was hearing more about Oblivion before the remaster came out. Now that it came out, I've seen no threads on it. Monster Hunter Wilds. This one sold like crazy. And to my understanding, it's stopped selling because people didn't like it. Word of mouth got out that it was trash for performance reasons or other. Not too sure about this one other than no one talks about it. That's the core point. Ninja Gaiden 4, that one, maybe there just wasn't an audience for that one, or the Ninja Gaiden audience is relatively small. So I am not too sure about how popular this one was. Maybe it was targeted at a smaller audience, and thus that's why it's not really talked about. I don't think I've seen much discussion about Ninja Gaiden outside of when I saw the release come out. So maybe this is unfair. This is an unfair targeted harassment of a game. However, I've seen many threads on the famous Vampire the Masquerade because let's be real here, the women in the first game were not that bad. But this highly anticipated sequel, I don't even know anyone who played it, honestly. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, I don't like that they're just remaking a bunch of old games and batching them together. Where is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.5 HD Remix? We're going the Kingdom Hearts route. Is it gonna have the Silent Hill skating minigame? That would be awesome. I'm looking for Maria. Have you seen Maria? Little Nightmares 3. This one was a smaller indie title, I suppose. But my understanding is it had a moderate audience. No one's nothing. And the point I wanted to bring up here of bashing these titles is if you don't remember the game, if your game's not memorable, why bother? Like, can you make something cool enough for someone to think about it fondly? Whether it's cinematically unique, like the camera, cinematography is cool. In Heavy Rain, in my Heavy Rain video, I point out that some of this stuff is really cool. Whether the gameplay is unique or maybe it's just done good enough that it does better than the things it was copying. And I suppose I'll have to say it. My game of the year this year probably goes to Marvel Rivals. I've gotten way too much playtime out of this, but I don't want to talk about it. Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out. Games that let me hit more buttons intuitively. This is a stupid mini game. This did not need to exist. Chat, would you? The dresser? Be honest. BM? Is she BM coded? Think she might be BM coded. Just saying.